Is everybody well?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good.
Yep.
We all look frightened.
You all will be just fine, I promise.
Listen, I don't like to do things like this that are very corporate. I've done the corporate world. It doesn't suit book world. And just think of it as a conversation with a bunch of friends. And we all have points of views with regards to how it is in South Africa, being an author, the industry, all the stuff that comes along with it. So we've got a lot to talk about. So, and there's no mistakes. There's no, we just talk, and that's it. I'm very much, as Raj knows, I'm just like very laid back. So I like everyone else to feel a little bit laid back as well, because we have a stressful day life as it is without having to have this be stressful.
Absolutely, Angela. And more than that, the book industry has been very closed to especially new authors. And we want to change that so that whether you've been doing literary art for decades or you're just dipping your toes in, you feel like you have access to everything you need. Hi, Michael.
Exactly.
Hello.
Hey, Michael. I actually gave him on a call. I couldn't attend the last one because I was not well.
Oh yes, I forgot. Are you feeling better?
I have chronic illness anyway, so it's one of those things. One day it's good, one day it's not. You just crack on with it, like anything in life.
Hopefully today is the good day.
Yeah, always a good day. I'm alive. I'm kicking. It's a good day. So, thank you guys for coming. Michelle should be joining. Let me just message her. I know she had a bit of Wi-Fi issue earlier. Hold on.
So I do also want to put everyone's minds at ease, because remember, you're here because you know your stuff, right? In your respective genres, you already had a claim. And that means your talent is something that is visible to all of us. So with that talent being so visible, you are qualified to be here and to speak and to be heard. So I promise everything will be just fine.
The imposter syndrome is real, though. In the indie author space. Or for me, at any rate.
It's a huge thing. And it's quite surprising. All types of authors have got the same imposter syndrome, and I deal with it weekly from people. And it's like, you did the book, you wrote the book, you put the book out there. How many people do you know in your circle that have done that? Not a lot. So the fact that you've done that is a huge deal. Whether or not you sell loads of them or you don't, it's the fact that you put it into words and you got it out there. That is amazing. So you should not have anything to worry about with that regard, because you've all got your superpowers. Every single person on this call has got something amazing that they can show the rest of the South African community. Because as we know, in this country, there's a lot of scamming, there's a lot of stress. We're treated like overseas people, and we're completely different. It's a different ball game. This is Michelle.
Hi. Sorry, I was having some technical issues, but I'm here.
Yeah, I think the internet over South Africa today has been really laggy. I don't know about you. I've spoken to a lot of people, and they're all saying the same thing. So something's happening in the internet world. So yes. So if we're going to start, we can go around introducing ourselves, who we are, what we do, which is kind of, we know what we do, but for the viewers who are going to be watching this, and then have conversation, about South African book, how you find it, what's going on, what is your concerns. It's an open field. This is a conversation. It's not scripted, because I see so many podcasts now that are just so scripted, it's becoming boring. And I just want people to be natural. So yes, so I'll start and then go around. So I'm Angela Candler. I am co-founder of South African Indie Author Association and the local book hive, and I've just published my dark fantasy. Thank you very much. So Lauren, would you like to go next?
I'm Lauren Lopez. I published my debut in October last year, 2025, and I write romantic suspense. And it's the first of 4 fairy tale retellings. And I'm busy with the second one at the moment.
Amazing. Amazing. So would you like to go next, Keli?
All right, I'm Keli. I'm from Ballito in KZN. We don't have a lot of other writers here, so it's great to meet all of you. I have 2 fiction books called The 400 Club and Splitting an Empire, which are part of a contemporary fiction series. And then I have 1 nonfiction book called Creating Literary Art, which was co-authored with a writer named Teresa. And yeah, I just look forward to continuing the journey and hopefully many more books.
Brilliant. Welcome. Raj, would you like to go next?
Hi everyone, I'm Riddhi Raj, the Reading Fairy, and so excited to be a co-host this evening with such phenomenal local talent that can stand on the world stage with the best of the best. And at the South African Indie Author Association, our aim is to ensure that our art is appreciated, accessible, and that there is full transparency in everything that we do, whilst uplifting the voices of the talent that we have locally. And this you can see in the form of all of you that are right here. Over to Michelle.
So my name is Michelle. I'm based in Gauteng, and I am a fantasy author. I'm also co-founder of the SA Author Association and the local book hive. And yeah, just love writing.
Michael, not last, not least, Michael. Been
It's
going
me. Hi. Awesome. I'm happy to be here. I'm Michael Ferguson. I'm the author of 5 fantasy/horror books from Joburg, from Pretoria, currently in Serbia. And I'm very excited to be here with you guys tonight.
So glad to have all of you with us. Honestly, I don't think we could get a better group of different angles from our authorship. And for me, I moved back to South Africa 3.5 years ago. So coming from London back to South Africa, you can see a shift in things that have been happening. But what I've still found is that people are still trying to keep us like overseas writers, and for one, our rand isn't strong enough to be able to compete in paying for things that are part of that. So to try and build the talent here in this country is a really big thing that I want to be doing, is from everyone who supports authors. For me, it's about getting the conversation and stop gatekeeping stuff, because when you start out, I don't know about you guys, but I was like searching the internet to try and find stuff. And I was like, where do I start? And, oh, you have to pay for an ISBN. No, you don't in South Africa, but you do in other countries. So there's all this information. And then it's like, let's just have conversations. That's my idea anyway.
I'm so with you on that, Angela, because we know that being an author or being a writer was not necessarily something that was encouraged in terms of careers. And then if you have the bravery to go down this path, you're then in complete darkness, because how do you navigate things? People are gatekeeping. And that is why spaces like this are so important. So you know that, yes, there's a person you can email and you can get that ISBN within a week. Or, yes, you need an ARC team. But what is an ARC team? There's a friend nearby that can explain all of this. And like you've mentioned, the journey of being an author is something that is so multifaceted. And I think Keli can tell us a little about that because she is also the head of a publishing house here in South Africa, and she's working with a lot of indie authors. Keli?
How silly that I didn't actually mention that at the start myself. Yes, so I am the founder of the Crest House, which we have teams based all over South Africa in Durban, Cape Town, Joburg. And we're actually so proud to have published some of Michael's books. So, yay. What you were talking about, Raj, was how creative careers are not actually encouraged in South Africa. My story is such a typical example of it. So I'm actually qualified as a medical doctor because when I wanted to be a writer growing up, and by the time I got to matric, people said to you things like, that's not a real career. You could do that on the side as a hobby. You'll never make a living out of that. So I chose to do medicine because I thought it was the responsible thing to do instead. Also, we live in a society that sort of reveres academic careers over creative careers. I see so many nods there. I think this is just a universal experience for everyone. It's really not encouraged. And then when you do make that move into it, it's like Raj said, it's hard. There's no information because nobody ever taught it to you. And then you're looking to the internet for information. And Angela said something so important, which is that a lot of information out there is not applicable to South Africans. I remember when I first started Crest, I spent a couple of months, I put together like a whole 36-page business plan, and it turned out to just be a beautiful essay, but in practice, none of it was actually stuff that was happening in essay. So yeah, it was honestly such a trial by experiment kind of endeavor for me here.
Thank
Isn't
you for
that a
sharing
wonderful
that,
thing?
Kelly. Go ahead.
I'm saying, but isn't that a wonderful thing where, you can go from, and to be a doctor takes so many years and so much, knowledge and stuff, and then to actually have the courage to say, you know what, it's not me, well done.
Thank
Because
you.
you can also show other people that actually you do have a voice, you can do what you want. I mean, I had trouble reading and in school when I was a kid. So it picked up when I was like 9, 10 years old. So for someone who is now a business owner and an author, it shows other people that, can do things.
I wanted to ask Kelly if it's okay. I'm interested. Did you write your books and then start the publishing company, or do it together, or which order did you do it?
So I'd actually written the first book, The 400 Club. I'd written it, but not really published it. I guess it goes back to what we were talking about before we started this meeting, imposter syndrome. I just didn't feel qualified to publish my book, but I started at the publishing company. I worked with different authors, and then I thought, I finally earned it to publish my own book. So my journey was a little bit weird in that I didn't start with my own book. I started with everyone else's books, and then I thought, okay, I'm finally allowed to do this. It somehow just felt like I had to prove myself first before I was allowed to publish it, if that makes sense, which is kind of bizarre considering I was publishing other people's books, but not my own.
Yeah, because what you were talking about, Angela, was the gatekeeping. It's not just, for me, it's not just technical gatekeeping as like the ISBNs or how to format a book, but I'm pretty new to the South African author space. I actually dived in through social media and found overseas author friends first. So it's been interesting for me to see the differences. And locally, there's an intellectual and academic gatekeeping. So there's a very strict divide that I've seen around who's allowed to be an author. And who, like you said, you needed to earn the right to publish a book almost as if it wasn't valid because you hadn't gone through a certain path. So that's definitely something I've seen in South African publishing space. And I haven't got any experience with the traditional publishing space here, but from what I have seen on the fringes, it seems quite a narrow path. Like it's not, so for example, romantic suspense is probably not something that's going to be picked up by a South African publisher in the way that we know it, unless I do like a lot of work to make connections and convince them that it could be sold.
Yeah, it's weird though, because you're right. I feel like there's like the community, like the people, they're the readers, and then there are the suppliers and the gatekeepers, if you will. And like in publishing, I think a lot of it's about like who you know instead of like what you know, and it's incredibly like elitist. Because I mean, like, and I think Keli can agree with me here. Like, there'll be events that will happen, and then like they'll consider some authors over other authors. Like, I'm not highbrow for some people. Like, they look down on like what I do with it, like fantasy or horror. It's not like literature. And I've been in bookstores like that as well. I was like, where's all the fun stuff? This is all like very like academic and like it's all like highbrow literature. And there was like no romance, no rom-coms, no fantasy. I was like, where's the fun stuff? So I do think that it's like two separate things. There's like how the readers feel about it. And in South Africa, it can be like a mixed bag. It's gotten better, I think, over the years. Whereas it used to be like, oh, this is written by a South African author. This probably isn't very good. That's sort of the attitude towards it.
So
it's
can I jump in on that point actually? Because I don't know about you, because obviously you go overseas quite a lot, Michael. So when I lived overseas, and I lived away for over 20 years, and this is going to sound really bad, but because of the people who are in our leadership, when they speak and present themselves, they do not come across very well read. So then people naturally put this context with the whole of South Africa under that context. And I've seen it multiple times with a lot of people, especially in London, who are very much, well, and it's sad.
I mean, I haven't come across that like personally myself. Like, and it's shocking to me to hear that, because I mean, you wouldn't, just because an author's from a different country or has an accent, or you know, maybe isn't as crisp or as polished as like maybe someone from the UK. I think it's incredibly dismissive to have that kind of attitude. In my experience, it's like the person like read, and again, like it comes down to like information, right? And the access to that information. I speak with a lot of authors, a lot of people who want to become authors that come to me, they ask me for advice, whether it's at events, whether it's on the internet, whatever the case is. And some of it comes down to laziness, especially in like the indie authorship publishing space. They've got this thing in their head, or this crazy idea that they don't need to have their novel edited, which is ridiculous to me. Like, it's supposed to go through, you know this, like it's supposed to go through so many edits, but they don't want to hear, like a lot of people don't want to, they want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want the actual advice. And they will then publish that book. It hasn't been through a single edit. It by chance lands up in a reader's hands, and they read it and they go, oh, this is a terrible book. It's not a terrible book because it's terrible and it wasn't edited correctly, and it's not hitting the correct story beats, and the characterization's bad. It's not a bad book because it's a bad book. It's a bad book because it was written by South Africa. And that's also why like access to the important information is so important if you want to become an author, because one independently badly published book by an indie author it brings like all class average down. And I have seen that change as well. Like, there have been immaculately self-published books out there that are fantastic, but there is also the stigma with readers where like, oh, this is South African. The last time I touched a South African book, it was really badly. It was just a bad book. It wasn't a bad book because it was South African. It was a bad book because it didn't go through the correct process.
I don't
I
actually
wanna.
think it's. Oh, sorry, Raj.
No, so go ahead.
No, I was going to say I don't think that's only a South African problem, but it might be like an exaggerated assumption here, as you say. But it's definitely something that I've seen across the board, and it's shifting now, especially with certain authors that started out indie and then have gotten massive like viral success because it just by virtue of the fact that a lot of people read the books and have seen the quality. But I agree with you. There's definitely a stigma around the quality of indie books, and some of it is justified. But I think from what I've seen, a lot of the indie books I've read, people really take it seriously in the community that I'm in. But yeah, it is disappointing that some people don't go through the quality checks that you would hope they would.
Yeah, and I think it's a problem on both ends, right? And I'm not saying it's every single book that's published. I'm not saying it's every single reader that's out there. But like I've had people like speak to me in the past, like, oh, I'm a South African author, I've written fantasy. These were the words. I quote you, or I quote. It was, oh, I've been burned by South African fantasy before. I'm not going there again. And I was just like, so the readers develop a stigma, and like I don't know if it's like an internalized like hatred for themselves or what it is. But then they're not willing to give any other books a chance. And then on the author's end of things, it is your responsibility to make sure that you've done your due diligence and that it's been through its edits and you've listened to your editor. Because I see a lot of that as well, where it's like, oh, the editor suggested this. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, listen to your editor.
It's just led by ego.
Yes.
It's all ego-led, and they don't want to have that bad critic. And it's like, you're opening yourself up to the public. It's going to happen.
And that's good for good or for it's for good or for worse. That's the thing. Like you open yourself up to the public, you lead with ego, and then you're offended that your book is getting bad reviews, or you're offended that no one's reading it, or they DNF'd it, or whatever. I'm like, but what work did you put into this? And also, they're going to do what they're going to do, but it's your job to make sure that doesn't happen. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so I'm actually so on board with what you've all been saying because I've worked on the distributor side. So we're trying to pitch to bookstores like Exclusive Books and Bargain Books, the bigger names. And when you say we're a company that distributes indie, South African indie, there is this hesitation. And they would much rather stock something that's 600 Rand and from another country than put in something that's South African. Now, I have actually encountered one of the books that Michael's talking about, which was a local fantasy. And I think that had to be the only book I've ever put down and not picked up again. And the story itself could have been so magical, but all you needed was a team that you were willing to be a team on as an author. Because if it had proper guidance, the story could have turned out beautifully. But that I can say you would have a hesitancy because you'll say, well, the last time I picked up a South African fantasy, this is what I encountered. And unfortunately, there's also this idea that all of the books coming from South Africa are about our struggles and our challenges and our difficulties and things that are unpleasant. And there's an idea that South African authors only do non-fic. And that's not true because if there's a genre that exists, I promise you, there's a South African author that has multiple books on it.
We have loads.
And exactly. And this is why we need to have these conversations because we need to clarify these misconceptions that exist because at the same time there are authors such as yourselves who have taken tremendous time, effort, energy, worked with multiple people to produce the best possible art in the form of your books. And this is the same for Michelle and Angela as well, because Angela's book, Blood and Salt, launched on the 1st of June. And that book was so rigorous. Angela, can you share some of that journey with us? Because I'm sure the others will relate to the steps and procedures.
Well, I mean, it started from a whip that I wrote quite a few years ago when I was really sick. And then I kind of got into the dark scene and changed it completely from what it was to what it became. But then it started working with an alpha reader, a line editing, chapter art by wonderful Michelle, Tareen, a graphic designer, and it took ages. A street team, the whole lot, it was done correctly. And now that's all I can offer the world is it's being done to the best of its ability. And we're going to get people who love it, people who don't love it. That's fine. For me, I've done everything that I can as an author with the right team to get it out there. But if people aren't going to be giving indies a chance, this is why we create things like this, so we can start putting faces and personalities behind the people, I think.
Absolutely, Angela. And I want to pivot when asking a question, or rather two questions to our authors here. And one of which is, what are the aspects that you've identified in the local indie author world that you feel need change? What is it that you would like to implement if it was your hands that could change it all? We'll start with Lauren. Lauren, what would you change?
So I think if you want to look at low-hanging fruit, there is a rapid readership. And I know this because I connected with Raj on TikTok, which, can I just say, at my millennial age, elder millennial, was a grudge purchase. I hate TikTok. Anyway, I connected with Raj, and she connected me with a bunch of other readers in South Africa. And there are a lot of them, and they want stories, and a lot of romance readers. Okay. Then I connected with a community of authors on a WhatsApp group, and they are writing really good stuff across genres. So I think the low-hanging fruit is about connecting what's already there. And then from what you were saying earlier about maybe looking at the credibility of indies. So maybe looking at reciprocal vetting, where authors can vet each other's work. And if someone has read something, I mean, I know we do that kind of already, where we blurb each other's books or we post each other's work, but maybe in a slightly more formalized way to say, someone has read my book, they respect the way I write, and then I say, I've read Angela's book and I think she's cool and I think you might like this. And the quality is good. And they'll probably trust me to say, that, like, if the quality is good, that's the case. So that's just one example. But I would say my first thing that I would change right now is to try and connect us. And I actually recently, I saw this, I was like, I'm just going to make a little Canvas site and put indie author profiles on it. And I've been doing that, and I've got now, I think, over 40 indie authors on there who just filled out the form and they were like, yes, put me on. And I'm hoping to grow that as well, because that's a really cool way to just send one link to a reader and say, okay, well, here, 40 South African authors, go find your genre. There's like 5 or 6 genres that you can choose from and subgenres within that.
I love that, Lauren. I love that you've been so proactive in terms of being the change that you want to see, and also uplifting your fellow authors. When you talk about the connection and community, it is something that is so important. And like you said, being an author yourself, vetting someone else's work, it's from a point of respect. It's saying, hey, I respect you as this person and I trust you to give me constructive criticism, even if it hurts my feelings a little bit, because at the end of the day, I know you want me to be the best author I can possibly be and put forth a wonderful book that can be well received. So thank you so much for sharing that, Lauren. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, what wouldn't I change? Like the thing is, I've started to see change happening for a while now. Like I used to be a journalist, like I used to review a lot of books, write a lot of books, and I've been in the like publishing industry, if that in one form or another, whether it was magazines or books or whatever the case was. And there was sort of people did used to look down on indie authors a lot, and I really wanted to change that. But it's also up to the indie authors to like up their game, because if anything, we're held to a higher standard. So I think I would change that. Like I would like indie or like the majority or a lot of indie authors to be a little bit more accountable when it comes to like what they're producing, and like leave the ego at the door, like you said, like listen to your editor, that kind of thing. But I am also seeing a shift in the readership, and I think that is very TikTok's responsible for a lot of that, because 2020 came, everybody was stuck in their homes, no one could do anything other than sit and read and watch the whole of Netflix. But that's sort of where I started seeing the shift. And every year, it's like people are more excited for stuff coming from South African authors. The creators on TikTok, on Instagram, like the bookish accounts, they're on fire to support these indie authors. So that's really great. I'd like to see more of that. If that's the like upward trend, if that's the change, then that's fantastic. And then like, again, I'd like to see a little bit more confidence from people, because it's like we were saying earlier, everybody struggles with like imposter syndrome a lot of the time. And it's like, it would be people that you didn't even think of. Like some people, like I might look at people that are freaking amazing and I put them on a pedestal. They'll have like their own issues and their own imposter syndromes. But I'll speak with people and they'll say, oh, I've written this book and it's about these things and I don't know if anybody's going to read it. And I'm like, I promise you that there is a readership for your werewolf novel, for example. Like I promise you the readers will find it, but you have, and that's also something that I would change. Like I feel like I wish a lot of authors were more confident in putting themselves out there, because I speak to a lot of those types of people as well, and they're like, oh, I don't want to be on the internet. And I'm like, nobody wants to be on the internet in that way, but like you have to do it somehow. And there's a lot of that like faceless content stuff. There's always a way around it. But people block themselves. If you really wanted to do it, you would figure out a way to market your book online without showing your face. And like what I hear a lot of as well is like, oh, I really want to write a book. I've got a great idea for a book, but I don't have the time. And I'm like, if you wanted to do it, you would make the time. The time's not going to find itself. If you're serious about it, you'll make it happen. So I wish people would be a little bit more confident, because their stories do have value. And I say that a lot to people as well. They're insecure about the story. And I'm like, it has its value. It needs to be told. Tell it. And I suppose those are the things that I would change.
I think that's brilliant, Michael, because yes, the confidence of authors. If I tell you, when I've read bits and pieces from all of you on this call, and the amount of talent, the way in which I just get, it's like, you know, these videos you see where someone like looks at a book and they fall into it. That's how it feels. And so I would hope that authors will take the confidence that their readers have in them, because we truly do. I mean, we look at these books and we think, wow, how did you write this? Where did you come up with this? And so I would hope that that would bolster your confidence as an author. And something I've noticed Michael doing a lot of is, if people ask questions and they want to get into the industry, he will take the time and like sit and record a long video explaining things, because
I have an entire playlist on my TikTok. It's like you can go to.
I love that.
So like,
I love that,
very
because we cannot rise without helping each other. We can't.
Rush,
Keli, what about you? So, yes. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Michael, I actually wanted to something that you said, which I think is a very good point about, you know, people taking accountability and making it happen for themselves. It's, you know, one of the things I find just generally across the indie author industry is that there's quite a lot of entitlement. You're like, I have a book idea. I have a book idea, therefore it must come to me. I will just sit here and everything must come to me. But something that I actually want to say quite explicitly for any potential authors looking at this. if you are an author and you have stories inside you, that is one side. That is a whole creative journey. And as Michael said, you have to follow the right process in order to get the quality art out. But there's a whole other side as an indie, and even in some cases as a traditional published author, because things are shifting. You are an entrepreneur and you are a business owner. And the way you write your book and the way you market your book are completely different. They're both kind of creative and they both rely on some kind of content, but the approaches are completely different. So when we're doing the knowledge sharing as well, it's about, okay, what have I learned from a business perspective? Because, I mean, like, some people aren't naturally business minded, but that's the reality. If you want to be in India and you want to make it happen, nothing is coming to you. Okay. I saw some ridiculous statistic and it might have changed by now. Something like 2.5 million books are being published on Amazon every year. That's probably gone up since I saw that statistic.
It will, and it's going to go up
going up.
exponentially, and a lot of it's going to be like AI garbage. Sorry, yeah. I'm on like I've
had that for a month. I feel you. For a month, we've been dealing with Gen AI nonsense, and I'm.
So it's like what you're saying, Lauren. Like, it's only going to get more competitive from here out, and you've got to be creative in the ways that, like, you make space for yourself and you make sure that you get seen. And yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like, you're 100% right on all
I was
of that.
done.
It's not going to get easier for people. It's going to get more difficult.
Absolutely.
But you're also going to be yourself.
Yes, you have to be authentic.
People trying to be like somebody else, and it's not them. And it's like, but I know you, and that is definitely not how you are. You have to market yourself authentically. And Michael and Michelle and Lauren and Keli, and Raj, I can see that across the board of all of you. But then there's some people that are just following the trend, if you know what I mean, following the trend to get seen. But then when the trend goes, they can't think of what else to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're like one note.
Yeah.
And again, like, when it comes to trends, I feel like the trends, like, I really don't like the whole trope thing. It's like, okay, cool, I've got to market my book and I've got to boil it. This entire concept, this entire thing that I've spent all these months working on, I've got to boil that down to like 5 selling points that are going to catch a reader's attention. And like, that to me, it's effective, but I don't think it pains me to do that because it feels like I'm dumbing down my work. And yeah, but you've got to know what trends to follow and which trends to like ignore, and like what will work for you and your personality as well. Like, if you don't want to show your face, create a faceless account and look at what's going on with the trends there. If you are a little bit more confident, like, and I do think that everybody on this call has a very specific point of view. Like, some of your content, I do watch your content, like some of it I find very soothing, and it's really nice to be able to just take a break from scrolling and like listen to this very soothing voice talking about authoring and publishing. Like, Keli's also got a very unique, I think, sort of brand to her and her content, and it aligns so nicely with the kind of books that she writes, and that's who she is. Like, I've known Keli for a very, very long time. Like, that is who she is. She's like polished and professional and friendly, and she's got her opinions, well written, shows up. So like, that is generally, that's Keli. Like, when you open the app, that's her. That's much I will say.
I'm with you on that, Michael, because even if we were to circle back to your point about how you're marketing yourself, and Lauren, you also mentioned this, that you're an entrepreneur, and Keli had such phenomenal advice recently on an interview, and it's always around, this is art, this is not your arts and crafts project. Keli, if we can delve a little into that.
Yeah, back when I had to talk, I used to, my phrase literally was, stop treating your book like your arts and crafts projects. Start treating your book like your business. I think all of us have mentioned it to some extent here, that we've got to combine our creativity with business skills, because having a creative story is one thing, but when you actually want to sell it to other people, or you want other people to buy what you've read, it then becomes a business. You've got to know, what does it cost to hire an editor, a graphic designer, a printer? What is it going to cost me to distribute this book? What sort of marketing expenses do I have? What do I sell this book for so that I make back my money, but I'm not also ripping off the reader? I think all of us have said it to some extent that it's not enough to say I'm a writer and I just want to do the fun, creative stuff, especially as indie authors who are responsible for our own book success. We really do have to learn how to treat our books like a business.
Yep. And
100%.
it is like, and again, like I'll speak with people, like I love the act of writing, whether it's journaling, whether it's writing for yourself, whether it's writing for other people or just friends and family, whether it's blogging, whatever the case is, writing is such a gift and it's such an amazing tool to help you understand yourself better. But if you want to do it as a career or you want to pursue it, it's got to make its money back, right? Because otherwise it becomes this bottomless pit. And if that's your idea of a hobby, then that's great, but it's definitely not my idea. And you know, I'll speak with people and they'll come with this. I've got the story and it's, you know, it's 250,000 words. And I'm like, you want to like break that up a little bit, you know, into like a series. No, it's one book. And I'm like, what do? I want to get this out there. I want to publish it. There's so many different avenues that you could do with that. You could do something with that, but it's not going to be commercially viable for you. If that makes sense. Like you're not going to you're going to have to pay an editor a hell of a lot of money. If you want to print that thing, it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. But if you wanted to release it in segments as a blog post, if you wanted to chop it up a little bit, if you wanted to dump that entire thing onto Kindle and sell it as an ebook with like very little like overhead, perfectly fine. Like see how successful that you can make it. I know that there are readers that would probably stick around for a 250,000 word novel, but or tome rather. But again, if you're looking at the market, like, are you doing your research? What are the genre trends? What are the cover trends? What are the naming conventions? What's going on in the market at the moment? And then you've also got to try and look into a crystal ball and predict what's going to happen in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. With fantasy, it's a little bit easier because you know it goes witches, dragons, vampires, werewolves, witches, dragons, vampires, and you
Mine's
like watch.
different. I've gone opposite actually. Well, mine, thank goodness.
I'm just saying there is a
Tell me-
commercial viability to that because eventually the pendulum will swing back to whatever monster you've
no,
written.
100%. I was just like, I'm not writing about a dragon. or a vampire or a werewolf. I'm like, I'm done with it today.
Yeah, I've got a hard no dragon rule. Well,
Well, I went Celtic, I went Kelpies. So
nice.
Celtic,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love that.
Very
That is,
cool.
it's so unique. And when it comes to what Michael's mentioned about the crystal ball, I think someone that has quite a good idea in terms of that is actually Michelle, because of the local book hive and, you know, stocking not just local indie authors, but also Book Much, which turns out to be a massive market and one that authors, I feel, should really tap into, because whether it's a pillow or a bookmark or a figurine or a jacket, the readers want it. They want much. Michelle, your thoughts?
No, definitely. I think if you're wanting to turn your book into a business, readers are all for opening up like this big gift box with little trinkets and things inside of it that are related to your book. And it's such an easy way to add value to not just obviously what you can put in your pocket, but to the experience that the reader has for their book. And yeah, it's definitely something that I think authors need to explore more. But with that, I also want to say cautiously, because I've also seen authors that bankrupt themselves trying to put book boxes together. And it's not.
Are you there?
Did we lose
She
Michelle?
Michelle?
She frozen. Michelle? She's
But-
frozen.
I mean,
Shit.
to her
Okay,
point, like,
There she's back.
sorry, there you
You're back.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that people need to explore more. But
yeah, and I mean,
caution.
we did this, Kelly. We did this. What year was it when we released The God of Flames and Monsters? We put those book boxes together.
Yes, it must have been 2 years ago or so.
Yeah, I had COVID while I was busy packing those book boxes because I cannot remember that weekend. I know that it happened, like they got packed, but I've got no memory of how it happened. And everybody got their boxes, but it turned out to be a very expensive. And I mean, these were art boxes that we gave away. And you know, when people like I tried to think about it like as practically as possible. Boxes were there so that they could post about it online so the book could get as much attention as possible. That was the point. And like we did, we got a really, really good reaction. People, I mean, we sent them magic fire to like throw into a fire to change the color of the flames. And then like they did that in their browsers and with candles and whatever. And like in hindsight, I think it was a pretty bad idea to tell them to play with fire, but it worked. It worked really well.
Yeah.
But it was an incredibly expensive exercise. We got the attention that we wanted from doing that campaign. But again, if I could go back in time and redo it, I'd probably try and spend less money.
I think also now I see in a lot of trends are a lot of readers expect, do you know what I mean, to have these book boxes now. And the average person can't afford to put those together to make it viably accessible. And I've seen a lot of authors get into debt, and I'm like, don't get into debt over this. It's not going to make your book any better first. Do you know what I'm saying? It's if you've got a good book, they're going to rave about it. Whether you give them a chain, dragon, or some beautiful merch to go with it. I just think there's becoming this entitlement that people think that that's what must be out there now. And the life's getting expensive.
I tried to do it the other way around now, where it's like instead of like, okay, cool, you just get these things. Everybody always gets to make sure, but that bookmark is a business card. It's got a QR code on the back.
Exactly.
You know, so you can come back to me. So that's why it's free. I had the most heartbreaking experience at Comic-Con Cape Town recently because like obviously there were a lot of people coming to the store, like chatting, whatever, interact, and I'd be like, oh, here's my bookmark, my QR, packing up the one day. And I found one of my bookmarks like crumpled up and just like left on the floor of the convention center. And I was like, I know you didn't pay for this thing, but somebody had to pay for it. And like I picked it up and I was like, poor thing. So, but again, like that's just, it's how it goes sometimes. Now I try and do it the other way around. I will have free merch as a giveaway at a live event. And if you attend my event, then you get the chance to win some free merch. And then it's done limited quantities, and it pulls people to the could stand the chance of getting free.
And
free.
as we discussed this, I just launched my first book box today to the public. I did it, but what I'm doing is I'm actually doing it as a pre-order. So I've got a limited number of, I've got a threshold of pre-orders that I'm going to reach before I do my orders because I don't have like that money just lying around.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's so expensive. And that's my worry is that a lot of people start getting into debt with this because they think that this is what they have to do.
As we're sitting here chatting, there's something that struck me. Because I didn't really know Michael and Keli what they did, you know, like all the other contents that you've put out around the publishing industry. So I have a communications and design company. So the other side of my life that's my business. And I've done a series of Canva tutorials. So the tropes that you hate doing, like how to do that on Canva. And you've done, apparently you say you've done videos about the publishing industry, and I imagine that Keli has got some already established interviews and stuff around the business side. This is another area where we could just connect things, make a playlist on YouTube with existing videos of all the different aspects of the author journey to help other authors and also boost the quality. So they have to actually go do the work, watch the videos, make it happen, but it might be a nice way to share the information with what's already there. So that could be an interesting collaboration to see, you know, I can do the marketing communication side. Michael has his, and that's just of the people in this call. It could be other people as well. And I know that Angela and Michelle also have obviously a lot of experience in the industry, but just of the other guests on the call, that would be something easy to put together.
I think that's what SAI is trying to do. It's trying to get the education out for people. they understand what they need to do, how they can do it, how they can achieve it, and also with people that have been in the business for a while and that are trustworthy, because as we know, there's a load of scammers around that will try and take your money. So that's what Saya is trying to do, and trying to make it more accessible in one space. And this is why we're trying to do things like this, and having a YouTube channel, having like all these workbooks they get, and a whole of stuff just to help them. But it's all about collaboration, and the only way we can change is by, and I keep on calling it an ecosystem, because it is an ecosystem. We all look after each other, and we all feed back into each other to make it a better way forward for the people that are going to come after us. Because I don't know about you, but I'm tired of having some authors coming to me R1,000 worth of, due to certain distributors screwing them over. So for me, I'm tired of hearing how people are being taken advantage of in a community that is meant to be about magic and imagination and teaching and literacy. And all I'm seeing a lot of literacy festivals. They've taken the magic out of it completely. Most people can't afford to attend them. Children definitely to attend them, and I just find it pretty sad, to be
Yeah,
fair.
they're very elitist, aren't they?
Yeah, and I
saying
find
earlier.
it. I mean, that's, well, we're going to do a festival next year, which is all fun. So I'll be having a chat with you, Michael.
Sounds good. You know me, I love a microphone.
And it's going to be in Pretoria.
Ah, love it. Awesome.
So I'll be traveling from Western Cape to come
Oh,
and
wow.
see. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. I like it.
Trip, Kelly?
Kelly, you're in Western Cape, aren't you? Or were you nicer? It's
What's
just me. Anyone in Western Cape?
I think Keli and
Sorry,
Raj.
yeah, I'm in the Western Cape.
I knew someone was. I know someone's in the Western Cape.
Yeah, just me.
But I mean, things like this, this is the only way that we can make change in this community. And as we've seen across the world, there's so much negativity, especially on social media. But I think South African Book Talk is quite a nice little place that is full of positive vibes. And if we keep on forming alliances, coalitions, and all these things that make things a little bit more accessible for people, we might get a better breed of indie author who
And
understands
can I
the
just say
dynamics of
that Raj has an amazing presence on TikTok, and
oh yes,
I think
I know.
your moniker is well earned. You are definitely the book fairy, and you've connected me to a lot of people. So I think from that perspective, a passionate reader, someone who's a fan, but someone who's also doing the work in the space, that's also so important, because as Angela said, it's an ecosystem, and that's how it feeds back from the readers, because we couldn't do it without the ARC readers. We couldn't do it without the street team. Raj often reposts my stuff. So that's also I'm very grateful for that, because I literally came in green and no one knew who I was. So I'm very grateful for any exposure.
And this is why Raj is part of the governing body on Saya, because of being who she is, because she's just so good with people.
Look, for me, the way I look at it is it's about empowerment, right? We when we say we want to up the caliber of writing in South Africa with indie authors, and then you think, how do we do that? And then you have people like Angela and Michelle who put together the writers' rooms chapters, right? And whether you have published a plethora of books or if you just have an idea in your head, you're welcome in that space. You are having peer reviews, people that you respect and look up to that are taking the time to read your work, and that empowers you, that guides you. There are several workshops also that are being done
recently, if I'm not mistaken, there was a gentleman that was teaching us about forensics.
My husband.
And yes, it was Angela's husband that was teaching us
Yeah.
about forensics, which if you're writing something that's a thriller, that would be so handy for you. We've been For example, there was an author that said she wasn't sure how to bring out the yearning. So, with the sense of community, like Lauren mentioned, we'll link each other up so that there's someone to read your work and help you through it, someone that can be trusted. And that is how we are able to uplift each other. Because at the end of it all, when indie authors get the recognition that they deserve, it benefits everybody in the same way that when someone encounters a not so fantastic book, kind of drags all of us down. So
Yeah.
when we have the chance to do better, to help each other, it's what I feel we should be doing. I mean, Angela does not like the spotlight. She'll do anything to move the spotlight off of her because she loves to promote and uplift other people. And one of the things that I've seen a lot of in the South African bookish community is that authors will share and repost and drive in awful weather to go attend because a fellow author is there speaking at some event or is having a meet and greet, and I have seen such great, I can't say sisterhood because we do have some really great male authors as well, but a sense of community that comes together. And it's everyone from the managers at the bookstores to those who are fans at home. And then those who are pouring their hearts out onto paper, like all of you. And so, ecosystem, I feel, is a really good way to describe what it is that we're hoping to nurture in the South African bookish space. And Book Talk has been beneficial for that because now people are starting to realize, hey, South African books are not about struggles. South African books are about spice and fantasy and magic and horrific
And
things too.
inclusivity as well, because it's
Exactly.
like everybody bitches and they're like, oh, I think where's all the inclusivity? It's right under your nose. You just aren't looking.
Exactly. And Michael, on that point, I wanna make mention of this. So and especially because it's Pride Month, I'm so glad you brought that up because your books are so inclusive. When I look at Lauren's books has, I think the Rose Enigma had ADHD representation in there, and I've never seen a local book that had that. It wasn't blatant, but you could tell, and that just, it's like if any other person that has ADHD, it just sort of, it's a part of you, it's who you are, and it impacts what you do, and it's not blatantly in your face, but it matters. And when I look at Angela, I mean, Angela is someone who struggled with reading to now empower people, because we previously discussed how the attention span of readers is quite diminished now. But if you write a fantastic first paragraph, you've won your reader. And I think that is something that is so phenomenal because, yes, people have a short attention span. But when we've got talent like there is in this room right here, oh, TikTok can wait, dishes can wait, work can wait, because you're staying up till 2 in the morning to read these magical, magical things. And we're also very much about the human element because AI cannot produce what has come from your hearts. And I definitely feel that's the case.
Not yet, anyway. We'll see how it goes.
I'm so tired of talking about this thing. It's like wherever you
God.
go, it's just turning up like a bad smell. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like
Mm.
I'm just like
And it's going to do, like, again, like we talk about like all of this gatekeeping and all these things and loops and whatever that authors have to jump through and the things that they have to learn. This is not going to help people because it's
No,
giving
it's
you
not.
like a lazy way out, like, and it's a bad lazy way out. And
But
it's
not even
just,
just that. Mentally, what it does to your brain, it does not help.
I
Because
just
you
don't.
don't think, you don't work through problems, you don't find the imagination, and you start to just get dumber.
Why? as a
It's like I
creative
saw
person,
on Bookstagram where they say like, don't use AI, use your childhood trauma like a real poet.
exactly. Yeah, and I just don't
Agreed.
understand why someone would want to take the joy of the creative process away from themselves. Like I don't understand that.
Because I think they think that they're going to be the next J.K. Rowling and make millions. That's what I
Yeah, it's
honestly
about
think.
money.
We
Yeah,
all
it's all
thought
about
that.
money.
Yeah, we all thought that. And that's also the thing. Like, and I've said this to Kelly a million times. Like, if you become an author to get rich, like you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
You're in
It's
trouble.
it's like
No.
you're in trouble. I've got bad news for you. And like
Ah.
that's also why it's so important to take care of the business side of things, because it's like, oh, you think that you're going to write this book and everybody must worship at your feet because you've written a book and everybody must show up, and it just doesn't work that way. Sorry, like you have to put in the work.
No, it's frightening what you actually earn. And if people understood that, maybe a bit more, maybe that would stop.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
So
also
if people
sorry,
are watching this, please buy our books, preferably
Yeah.
directly from us.
So
Yeah,
I went
please.
and put my book today just on Amazon because a friend in the UK wants to get it for the paperback. What did they say my royalty would be?
$3.
Oh,
78 pence.
Yep.
That's
So if
fortunes.
people-
You are the next J.K. Rowling.
No, right? So if this is the lifestyle you're envisaging, 78 pence, my friend, 15 rand. That's
Yeah.
what you would get.
It is tough out there. And it's also part of the thing is like you look at how much you're making, versus how much you're spending.
Yeah.
And you're hoping, okay, cool, one day you'll have like a big enough like sort of backlist, I think they call it.
Yeah.
For sort of like generating money. But yeah, if you're doing it for money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons anyway. Like you should be doing it because you've got a story inside yourself. You want to tell it like accurately, properly, the best way it can be told.
Anything creative, you're not going to make money from. You know what I mean? Like even being an artist, like a proper artist, if you sculpt and stuff, you're lucky if they sell.
Yeah, but people
Just
also
thinking of
speaking
Van
like,
Gogh.
yeah, he died
Like
for
he
an
was on-
earless.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you all for your time. I mean, it's already been an hour, just like that.
Can you believe it?
and Before we all run off to enjoy our evenings, I would like to ask our beautiful guests if you have one question that you would like to put forth for the next episode, our next roundtable, what would it be? Michael?
Oh no, now you're putting me on this. I thought I'd have time to think. So I'll ask somebody else first. I wasn't gonna ask a bad
Lauren?
question.
Another question. Okay, let me wing this. Okay, I would say, what is one thing that everyone with all of their expertise can do today to move the indie author community a step forward?
Perfect.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Kelly?
Okay, this is a question where I don't necessarily know if there's an answer to, but I look forward to hearing other people's opinions on the next episode, which is what can indie authors do to mitigate the situation where we give out free copies and reviewer copies and then people take it because they hear free stuff and then, we just don't get that review back or we don't. I feel like it's such a problem, but I hope this can be answered next time.
It's a great
Thank you,
question.
Kelly.
That's a
Black
great
will never
question.
get anything free ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
Um,
great question. Mm.
Michael, do you have a question for us?
I would like 100% honesty on like an unpopular opinion within the bookish community. Like if you've got something that's like itching, that you want to say really badly, but you're never allowed to say it because it would be rude or controversial or wrong. That's what I
Might
want
be
to
a
say.
group chat question for me because I would probably be cancelled.
That's the thing,
So-
though. That's the thing. Like, I always want to answer these questions
Cancel
honestly, but I'm
culture.
like, oh, I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings.
I would
Everybody's gonna-
absolutely be cancelled.
Yeah. If I said a lot of the stuff
I'd like
that's in my head, I'd be cancelled.
Yeah, I want a hot take. I want hot takes from people. I want to know what they really think and feel.
I think that's a nice one. I think a hot take will be quite intriguing. Michelle, any questions that you would have?
I didn't think you were going to ask me because I'm going to be on the next one. Yeah, I want to know what their biggest inspiration is to write. Make it easy.
That's sweet.
That's too sweet.
He is such a cutie patootie. I love that. Angela, what are you burning to know from our next batch of authors?
Mm. I don't know.
I've got another one if Angela doesn't.
Yes, please go.
Okay. And
Thank you.
this is like a genuine one in the spirit of like learning from one another and community and all of that stuff. What is the biggest mistake you have ever made as an author?
Ooh.
There we go.
Perfect. That's perfect. Because it's all about mindset, and I'm all about
Ferguson, you
mindset.
dark horse.
No, people are going to learn. Like, I wish
Yeah.
I wish I got the opportunity. I talk about my mistakes all the time. Like,
You and
learn
me
from me,
both.
don't do this.
I've got a question, and it's much probably going to annoy some people, but this is predominantly for the people who write dark romance. Are you really researching, or are you just going off of your trauma?
Ooh. Now that's a hot take.
So I
Yes,
see
that's
it a
an
lot.
interesting question. Yeah. I'd be
I
like,
see it a lot. Unfortunately, I'm a psychosex therapist, so you know.
oh damn, I need to get on the
You
phone with
buried
you.
the lead there, Angela. I didn't know that.
And a mindfulness master practitioner, so I'm like the yin and the yang.
That's a fun thing to learn at the very end of a session.
And your husband's a forensic scientist.
My husband
He was
was
a
a Met detective for over 30 years, and he was the #1 for stalking and domestic violence in the UK. He's
Jeez,
retired now. He's enjoying his guitar life.
that's amazing. It's a miracle he's not like an alcoholic.
Doesn't drink. Doesn't drink.
Damn.
Smokes a lot of cigarettes.
If that was me, I wouldn't stop drinking. Like, I wouldn't be able to stop.
But
No.
yeah, so that's the type of, we get all different types of people to come and do workshops for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think
Very interesting.
if I had to ask a question, I would say to romance writers, when you're doing intimacy scenes, have you first researched the actual physiology and biology? And second, because I feel like if you ever
We've had
read,
this conversation.
if you've ever read like any popular romance, I'm saying like international author popular romance, and you're like sitting there trying to figure out this because you're so sure when you studied biology in high school, that's not how anatomy works. But
Exactly.
also,
It's the truth, because you'll read that and it's like, oh, I couldn't grip it with both my hands. I'm like, lady, have you ever seen a penis? It's like they don't come in that size. That's what no one is that. Like, it's physically impossible. The man would not be able to stand upright, balance himself.
but also, I feel like there's this whole
I think we need to have a whole talk about like
Well,
inclusivity.
yes, like I have this issue with this whole choke me daddy sort of thing that's being put forth all the time, because for one thing, people are actually dying from being strangled.
Mhm.
For another thing, because it's so in I think it's parts of the UK where they're actually sort of banning that in pornography because people keep imitating that in reality and putting people in the hospital and sometimes killing them with the strangulation. And I think I would want to I would want to study the psychology behind those who put those types of scenes with excessive violence and excessive force into their books. So yeah, that would be like my hot take. Why is it the choke me daddy thing?
Actually, Angela and Raj,
Not that
your
we've tried.
questions are linked, and it's a conversation I have a lot with my author groups because I'm a romance author, and I don't do spice it's open door, but it's not explicit. But I mean, I'm friends with all levels of spice writers. But yeah, it's a question that needs to be had about at what point does it become irresponsible, and not only the research but also like you do have a responsibility with the content that you're writing, especially in dark romance.
Yeah.
And like you say, if there's real harm being done, you can't just be like, oh, it's a fantasy and people must feel, because that's not how it works.
I don't know. It feels like weird territory to me because that's like saying, oh, like I read Harry Potter and I think I can do magic. Like,
But unfortunately, most of the people that are reading certain scenes, so a lot of things that I've read, a lot of this is from a trauma space. Now, for someone who has had sexual trauma and GBV, I can see exactly what they're writing. Also, from studying it, I can see that they're not writing it from an open-minded perspective as a writer, if that makes sense. They're writing it from a space of trauma. And that's where they're using it as a space to heal, but then they're putting that trauma onto other people, if that makes sense. Because they
And I
haven't
think-
done the whole research on it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I think we saw this come up in conversation around 50 Shades of Grey because the BDSM and kink community said this is not what it's actually
No way,
like.
it's nothing like that at all.
No,
There's
not at all.
contracts, there's so many things that go with it, and they've actually more in sync than a normal married couple are, to be fair. I've had
Yeah, so
And on that note,
you
my
have to
next
go.
book,
It's late.
well, yes, but my next book actually does explore those themes. So I will leave you with that.
Lauren writes so
times.
beautifully. Lauren writes so beautifully. There was a scene I did a chapter read for Lauren. I think end of last year, beginning of this year. And while as she said, it's open door, but it's not spicy. It's
Mm.
more like hot chocolate, not
Mm.
chili powder. But
Yeah.
it's
like
done
chai.
so beautifully. It's done so beautifully,
Thank you.
and
Raj.
so like I feel like
She's watching.
these are the types of people that should be doing workshops on what this is supposed to look
I
like, what
want
this is supposed to sound like.
people to do workshops on all this type of different thing. I would love that to happen. But it's got to be not from a trauma led. It has to be very, this is the truth. This is what happens. And not just he flings me over his shoulder and rams his 10-inch dildo down my throat, or you know what I mean? It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I did not think my day would end this way. Thank you so much, everybody.
sorry. You see, this is where I can get into
I
trouble.
feel like we should stop
No,
recording
no,
and
it's-
take this
it's
conversation
interesting.
offline.
It's very interesting. I will say that.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. I'm sure we will have more chats. It's been a very pleasant evening.
Indeed. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to
Thank
chat
you.
Lovely
with
to
some of
meet
you again.
everyone.
Lovely to meet some of you. Like, it's
And-
been cool.
This is the point where I say, I told you so. I told you it would be fine. I told you it would be great. I told you that you can handle this. I told you so.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And we'll all be chatting again.
All
Good
right,
night.
then. Good night, everybody.
Bye.